and you're rubbing my arm.
We got a second series to talk about tomorrow's series, Valdez. Our first series is hype. We're going to go zoom in on patch 9.4 action, 59th best of 3 already of the season. We're zooming through here, 4-day match weeks, so 4 more to go. If you include this week, first ban of the game, already a Showmaker Respect ban. During our pre-match discussion, if you're a VOD watcher, we said Showmaker's increase in performance since the first round robin when SANDBOX and DAMWON faced off, to me, is the big reason that I think DWG Gaming could actually find a better result today. I think Showmaker's increase in performance might be the reason if DWG wanted to pick up a match victory. Zooming in on picks and bans so far, Dove actually has to ban out Rise. Awkward because one of the big SANDBOX champions and big champion in Dove's champion pool. Jace persists as a must-ban champion on red side in almost every game.
That it does has moved up here in priority, and of course another one that's big on that list is the Vladimir going to be banned out. Does leave some other big picks. We talked about the 8-game losing streak for Galio. Has lost a little bit of that first pick potential, but Ezreal still on the board, and even an Olaf going to be first picked here for On Fleek, you would assume, after the Lee Sin does get banned away.
Yeah, with the Lee Sin gone and Camille on the back burner, he will still consider it. SANDBOX have talked about it and have played it after the nerf, but Olaf is really his go-to, and SANDBOX love to play that tempo early game style. They're a team that wins through amassing turret plates and getting big, unassailable leads, because their mid to late game macro's been pretty solid, to be honest, with Joker definitely being the brains trust behind that. But there's always going to be a cost in the draft. It's not going to be the Jace or Vlad, because of course those are already taken away. But we see the first round Sylas here. Definitely a pick that's been picking up around the world. A lot of mid Sylas I've loved to watch in kind of every region around the world, but could definitely be a flame pick as well. DWG Gaming want to find some winning lanes to make Olaf's job a bit trickier.
There it is, the pick we mentioned in the, before the pick ban even started, LeBlanc. Both of these mid laners combined are 7-0, and the pick itself is a 66% win ratio right now. So LeBlanc, definitely high priority. Kind of funny that it fell already to kind of the second round on blue side, but eventually Dove gonna get his hand on the LeBlanc for his 4th time playing it.
And we'll see if it forces out a Lissandra, which I think is compositionally the choice that Showmakers played this season. You'd go into the LeBlanc, even if I'm not the hugest fan of the matchup, it is a sustaining matchup.
Flash the Katarina there.
They did, and that would, of course, be the hypest choice, but unlikely, you would think. Or will it be a new champion in the mid lane for Showmaker? The Yasuo is something they're hovering here, and the Jinx is something that's picking up priority on patch 9.4. We're going to hold the mid lane probably to last overall pick, but it could be the Sylas trying to brawl with the LeBlanc. Could be a different pick. We'll wait and find out later on. It's going to be a compositional Ezreal here. Nuclear, not one of our Ezreal gods. 3 and 5 is the win rate and hasn't really passed the eye test, but it's definitely a pick that is high priority on patch 9.4.
Just seems to be too good, as I do agree with the pick to eventually bring in that one, but Kalista gets banned away from Ghost. This is a guy that has shown a lot of great Kalista games, but also Lucian and Draven. They'll take away this pick for now.
And I wonder if you just ban Kalista Draven and force Ghost onto something second string for him at least. Maybe a Victor bot lane to really overload the enemy on magic damage would be one of the go-tos there. But they're actually not going to ban away the Draven. They're going to say, okay, Ezreal Tom is a pretty safe lane. Yes, it's not great against Draven Braum, but it's something that we're willing to sacrifice. Cassiopeia bot could also be considered by Ghost. It's a pick that's fallen away in Korea more than other regions. People just decide it's trash when the pick is unchanged on 9.4. It's still pretty strong. Wait and see if this is a game where we see a return to that. SANDBOX Gaming, knowing that there could be an overall last pick for Showmaker, maybe they're going to force that, because you could kind of just take Syndra here and then extend one of your flexes or force a Riven jungle to be taken earlier in the draft. But the big question is, who's getting the last pick? Is it Canyon for one of his crazy big brain junglers?
Ooh, okay.
He's going to go for Riven now.
We're not waiting on that one, Papa Smithy. Riven coming in 2-0 so far.
But where is it going, Valdez? There's a chance Flame puts it up the top lane, and that would be so hype to see. It doesn't fit the identity of FlyQuest Flame or NA Flame, but if you go back years, of course, he was a big carry player, and he's already played Jace, Ken, Vlad this season, so it'll be pretty hype to see him on top lane Riven, but Canyon's the one that's played it in the jungle. SANDBOX Gaming go different. They're going to go actually to a utility bot laner, but it's going to end up being the Ashe after all. Very cool to see. Someone to get eyes on the Riven with those Hawk shots early. If it does end up being a Yorick blind pick, it could be into the Sylas, of course. Fiora is another one we know, but a Challengers Korea matchup I really liked that I think we might see played this week is Gnar into Yorick. I think Gnar coming back into Yorick is a really big chance. To pick the Flame is known for, it's a big pick for Sword, so it could be a pick for Griffin tomorrow in their series. It's not the KO rework patch. We're going to get the KO shout out from Beryl.
Thanks, Beryl. As he is just going to go into the Aurelia instead.
But where is Aurelia going? We're thinking top lane because, of course, Aurelia no longer gets damage reduction on her W against magic damage. So the mid lane matchup isn't what it used to be. You can still do it. But, of course, there is that direct nerf you feel against a mid lane Aurelia. Wait till 20 seconds to see the lane assignments here. I would imagine Sylas mid, Aurelia top. But Sylas can also sustain through and brawl with the Yorick early, and maybe that's enough to shut down Olaf when he's strongest.
Yeah, we've seen a bit of that as well. Julia on Julia action with the Maiden coming out, but last second swap means that it will be Sylas into the LeBlanc, and Aurelia up against that Yorick in the top lane.
Yeah, that was what we were expecting. That's the most prototypical approach. No Riven top lane, but Riven jungle is something you can't turn your nose up at. Canyon's playing this. We've seen so many LCK junglers in solo queue trying to copy him, and some of them better than others. But Canyon clearly played plenty of off-lane or off-roll Riven in his time, so he's ready to go. And it is something that people just don't know exactly how much damage a jungle Riven does. Olaf wins in tempo in so many matchups, but if you get all your auto-attack cancels perfectly, you can always be caught off guard by Riven skirmishing as early as level 3.
As you mentioned, if there will be a guy to do it, it will be Canyon. Doesn't waste any time, maybe knowing, hey, he could be replaced in the next game, especially if DAMWON go down. So he's going to show off his Riven right away while he can and not waste any time with that one. We'll see if he can make some ganks work with the top and mid laners here, as Nuclear also returns to the Ezreal. See if he finds more success on that tonight, as we're going to jump into game number 1 right now. SANDBOX versus DWG.
Some gusto there, Valdez.
Yeah. You got the one guy. Always very, very excited for his team to come on in here.
What are you most excited for in our first game of the week? Of course, this is a top-of-the-table clash. It will be DAMWON Gaming moving to the same overall scoreline as SANDBOX if they win, and SANDBOX opening up a 2-series victory over 5th place if they win here. The Riven jungle, of course, is the one that will catch the eye. It's another Aftershock Riven. Focused on getting those early resists and the base damages. Don't need a keystone for Riven to do damage.
Coming in here with the scanner already is Joker. They take out one of the wards in the bottom river. And, well, you got a couple of axes and a volley to the face, and already that bottom lane sustaining a bunch of damage. You mentioned stuff to be excited about in this series. The Riven is obvious in the jungle, but I'm still a little bit biased to the mid lane. The LeBlanc coming out here. Get to see if she picks up her 8th win between these two mid laners, or will it take its first loss between the two mid laners?
Dove would move to the same 4-0 stat line that Showmaker is at. I like SANDBOX's approach here. They asked a question of DAMWON Gaming at level 1 with the Olaf invade. I wasn't going to linger on it. I just had it in my mind and had to get it out there.
Okay.
It gets them some vertical jungling, or at least it does price Canyon into vertical jungling. But you can be so creative with your pathing with Riven that you're never 100% sure, and it's a champion who's not blue buff based, right, when it comes to anything other than maybe getting your Q out a second earlier in the early game. So interested to see how Canyon pass, because right now it's red into Krugs. The blue pings around Scuttle. We know that that is not a correct ping, and he's not at Scuttle just yet.
Well, he'll be hanging around up on the top side. I saw a Summit. I couldn't help but see him miss like 2 or 3 CS, and missed a lot of that first wave, as still on the 1 CS. The Aftershock here for a bit here for Showmaker means that he will live for now, but afterwards does get away.
Canyon onto this Scuttle late. Onfig's going to spot it. Is Smite up for either? It is not. Onfig could steal this one away, but Flame walking up. He's probably going to try.
Oh. Ooh, okay.
No smite for either, you'll notice. Canyon only now getting his smite back up, so that does give him level 3. In case you want to know about solo queue paths, Red, Krug's, Scuttle is level 3. It's the only path that will do that. Short of getting some crazy experience from a level 1 or clearing out some wards.
Yeah.
He's actually contesting blue. Remember, both junglers have smite here.
Just going to let this one reset. On Fleek buying some time and saying, well, if you come in here, it'll waste both of our times. As a big trade up in the top side. Flame taking a bunch of damage from the range minions, but so is Summit. Means that neither player in the top lane wants to continue that trade.
And if you're at home and you're wondering who it benefits for Canyon and OnFleek to be brawling around the blue and for it to reset, because of course nobody gets any objectives from that, both junglers are mostly early game focused tempo junglers, and Aurelio was pushing in and mid lane was at an even point, so the battle warding allowed Flame to play more aggressively and maybe dart forward for a Q that if he didn't have any information, he might have had to flash out of the cage instantly there. So the small advantage goes to Flame and DAMWON Gaming, but of course, it's just a small one. Right now, at least, as the jungle camps aren't going to be plentiful for either jungler just yet.
Return to the mid lane. It's pretty even for now. You can see both of them have chugged through their corrupting pots for now and going pretty even on the CS here. Notice that Showmaker has Aftershock and Teleport. Just very much wants to have presence in the lane and be farming out and not die, while Dove on the other side has Electrocute and Ignite, so could definitely light up that mid lane and get a little bit more aggressive.
I don't think we talk about this enough, but we should mention it's mid-jungle are extended skirmish champions and both have Aftershock. So that means that if you fight early and the skirmishes are what Olaf and Riven Jungle are about, Aftershock is so strong in the early game, right? All the flat resists, which mean in the early game when people can't have the ability to contest the damage mitigation just with damage items because it's so early, Aftershock can be really big. So I want to see Canyon continue to play like you see on the minimap. Very, very aggressive, pushing up. Early Drake's the first spawn Infernal. I think double Aftershock for a first spawn Infernal is a match made in heaven because those resists will be very important. In scenarios like that, expect to see them brawl more aggressively than any duo you would expect against LeBlanc Olaf. LeBlanc Olaf's up there as a blind pick skirmish kind of A+ tier choice, and yet maybe DAMWON have found a way to contest it.
Yeah, I mean, Aftershock, everybody kind of knows it's extremely strong. I mean, I would consider it to be probably top 3 or top 2 in terms of main runes that you can take. If you can proc it, generally it's not a bad idea to take it on pretty much any champion, so definitely like the pick in general. And
it plays into the arms race of early game, because what do you see almost every mid laner do? We don't even make double dank seal jokes anymore, because two dark seals is standard. And why do you go 2 dark seals? Because for 700 gold, it gives you the most stuff that helps you fight in the early game. So if you say, okay, both mid laners went double dark seal, who has the advantage? The Aftershock gives you more stuff in the early game than the Electrocute. So this arms race for early game mid jungle priority in Korea, you're seeing Riven Jungle versus Olaf and double dark seal on basically every mid laner. Lets you know the mid jungle and its ability to impact the map is really prized right now. And it feels like DAMWON Gaming eke out kind of a 60-40 advantage with their keystone choice.
Yeah. Meanwhile, taking a look at some of the other runes, top lane is Conqueror versus Conqueror on 9.4, so making use of that one. And always got to look at the supports, as Unsealed Spellbook here for Beryl means that we could have some shenanigans with Abyssal Voyage Smite or anything crazy. Could also have some really nice map presence if he does take Teleport in just a bit.
And we should mention the he there is Beryl. Hoyt has definitely started more games. I imagine Beryl is in because of solo queue. Right now he's ranked 7 on the challenger ladder, so probably rewarding him for form. Predator's popped by OnFleek. They want to return to this blue buff they stole earlier in the game. Hasn't really led to a level lead in the jungle, but OnFleek getting the blue means that his jungle clear is faster, and it does deny a resource from Silas, who can be pretty cooldown reliant, especially on his sustain that he's maxing 7.
Doesn't only get the blue, but also gets that rubber-banded Bertha, the Gromp on the red side. For you guys who are unfamiliar with the names, does pick up all that XP and has hit level 6 now. Looks like he's going to immediately use that presence and map control on the bottom side to just go straight onto the Infernal here, like this choice, as Riven should be on her red, and he is correct.
And it subverts what we were talking about with the double aftershock. They don't even have to fight to get the first spawn Drake here. So losing map control bot side, Ashe does have the natural pushing advantage over Ezreal. And just the extension of the level 1 invade has gotten them a blue buff. So really nice macro stuff from the side of SANDBOX Gaming. And it would actually take a pretty extended contest to change the vision situation bot side that Canyon's not interested in making. He's just trying to get similarly rubber banded camps on the blue side. Nice moments here for SANDBOX Gaming early, and it's the only thing that separates the two teams.
Love that trade there from Showmaker. Just waits it out, gets his Aftershock proc after Dove stepped one step too close. After he does get that knock-up, is able to get a very nice trade there. Forces On Fleet to come on over and help him just push back a little bit, as well as both supports actually making their way towards the top side of the map.
If you're wondering what this all means going forward with the comps, I actually think there's pretty mirror comps on the blue and red side here when it comes to the future. So we're seeing the contest on blue. A lot of people being included here. Ghost and Nuclear have teleport, but don't have teleport available to join. In case you guys are wondering, we're getting the zoom out. Here's the arrow, but it just seems to be for a fight that hasn't started. And actually, Canyon just walks over and says, "No maiden for you." He just killed his girlfriend.
Yeah, he's like, okay, thank you for the farm, 50G in my pocket.
Summit's girlfriend is dead.
Yeah.
Murdered by Canyon.
And I'm laughing my head off right now. I feel like a bad person.
Dark, Valdez.
I know.
We do laughed about genocide and 4 and 5 kills from one person. We're very bloodthirsty, actually, It turns out. Please don't re-edit our commentary into scenarios that don't work with it. We are PG-13 where possible.
Please don't.
So one way, I think people don't do it enough. I don't think people kill Maiden enough in 2v1 or 2v2 scenarios. Definitely in solo queue, you see your jungler gank Yorick and Yorick gets a double kill, and that's in a scenario where the Maiden should have been focused before the Yorick. In lane, you can't just kill the Maiden because then Yorick kills you, right? But in a 2v1 gank scenario, getting the Maiden out of the way really helps out ganking a Yorick.
That is pretty nice. I mean, Canyon has to go over and use his smite to do it, but feels worth it in the end. Allows your Aurelia to feel even safer in the lane for quite a while. Currently, that is the lane that has the biggest CS gap. The next biggest is down in the bottom side. The 80 carry role currently goes doing pretty well there.
But you don't want to necessarily say that's a flame greater than Summit moment, because remember that Canyon was playing top side and OnFake was playing bot side. So it's an extension of the jungler matchup, but people having to play safe when they don't have backup. Everything in line. Aurelia top lane becoming more and more of a thing. Was blind picked in one of our series, but we're seeing it blind picked a lot in LEC. It's a wonder favorite. We saw it in Challenger's career earlier this week. It's being picked as a strong laner despite the big nerfs she saw on recent patches. Where this matchup evolves and what the breakpoints are, I'm not as confident as the kind of Fiora matchups and things in the past. I'm still learning about new Aurelia after the changes. She's a lot more unexplored as a champ, but if you can keep a item advantage, which for now we are seeing cemented, who's to say Flame can't run away with this lane, but solo kill potential, I don't see it for the Aurelia.
So a lot of the time, if that Drake does get taken a little bit later, you can see trades for the Drake and the Rift Herald. But this time around, it's just going to be started here. Up comes the Tom Kents, making it a 4-on-3 for now. That does mean that SANDBOX will have to give this one away. DAMWON will pick up Shelly and use that to their advantage.
Map state was in DAMWON's side to be able to make that play, but let's see what the punishment is bot lane. It's the only punishment we're seeing. They're trying to greed for 2 turret plates in this particular case. That's what on a control ward, going to be fine. Looks like they're going to get it, so there's a lot of pushing here. They are able to get some answering gold, and remember, answering a Rift Herald take with 2 turret plates when Rift Herald in this meta is almost always used for 2 turret plates just means a gold assignment thing is Flame's getting bullied.
Yeah. Girlfriend's back and angrier than ever, doing a lot of damage up in that top side, and with On Fleet coming on up, that does mean that Flame has to back all the way back to his second turret. And it's not just the bot lane that's getting bullied and taking a bunch of those plates. It's also in the top lane. After that trade, Yorick going to pick up a bunch of gold there as well.
And now we need to find DAMWON a pressure valve. Someone who's winning. Someone who's actually getting effect on the map because we're kind of seeing what I was thinking. That's why I wanted to reserve my judgment on the Aurelia matchup, purely because how did she all-in a Yorick and kill the Maiden? That's something that seems really tricky for Aurelia as a champ and her kit to do. It's very good at deleting Zoes in the mid lane in previous versions, and even that reliability went down when the W was changed, no longer repel magic damage, and just dealing with that secondary threat with how much health you're going to pile on is going to be big, and that's why I wanted to see this Rift Herald use topside, get an item lead. I think it's going to be necessary on the Fiora.
We got a bit of a race going on here, and it should favor SANDBOX, I would believe. We'll see if Flame and Canyon have more damage, but the answer is going to be no, as it does go the way of blue team and Ashe and Braum down on the bottom side.
Even though it's a 3v0, remember, because the channel was done when there was more plates, the armor MR buff was adding up with all those enemies around, so it would have been, what, 6 stacks of armor and MR trying to finish this, so no way for DAMWON, even with uneven numbers, to outpush. So the small turret first blood bonus does go to the Ashe, and with the small CS lead she has, it's not quite a gold bounty yet, but I think we're close to one.
We're definitely close, and the timing certainly fortunate here for the side of DAMWON. They use that right before the plates do come off. And we'll be able to pick up a bunch of that extra gold to go the way of not only the Aurelia, but also the Riven and the jungle. So do like that play up there.
And then you go back and you can actually do your detective work and see that the plate gold is the big reason SANDBOX is winning here. They were able to pick up 700 plate gold and Infernal. That just means that their laning matchups were able to get more ahead than you would expect. It wasn't just sides of the map being traded and plate for plate. They got the Drake and plates, which is much harder to do in this game. The only neutral we saw for DAMWON was, in fact, the Rift Herald they picked up and were able to, I guess, arrest some of the natural advantage SANDBOX have picked up. But on the blue side, being able to pick up that much tempo advantage is pretty impressive. The side of SANDBOX, and until we see some health built from Summit, maybe there's some windows for Flame to use his extra gold to try to find a kill. Apart from that, it seems like everything else does favor SANDBOX Gaming.
Yeah, does feel good in the bottom lane. You know, we were seeing that Kai'Sa hovered for quite a long time, but then eventually, last second, switching into the Ashe. And you were talking about that pushing advantage and also the bounty. Both of those things coming through already for Ghost here at 15 minutes on the Ashe.
The bounty updates, and we get that 550 Gs, and we've already mentioned we feel like there's pretty mirror comps here in terms of where their spikes are and where this game is going. I guess the only thing you can say here is that Baron buff feels like a game ender because the wave clear on both sides is pretty low, so I think the first Baron buff will almost certainly herald the winner of this game. It's very often the case, but I think the comps here really confirm that. Otherwise, good poke on both sides. I guess the Ashe Arrow is the engage advantage to SANDBOX, but it's not a multiple engage champions, so given how much parity there is, playing the early game better the SANDBOX way has gotten that first snowball lead. We'll see if it'll be enough to close the door as Baron spawns in 4 minutes.
No Mountain Drakes up until the third one that is coming in. Of course, lots of talk around Double Lift and his statements about the Mountain Drake and how OP it seems to be, just allowing teams that are ahead to just rush down Baron with seemingly no counterplay at times. Means that, you know, just makes it a very strong Drake, even potentially sometimes more than the Infernal in some situations of the game state. But you were talking about how important the first Baron is, that Mountain Drake gains even more value when you consider how important the Baron buff is.
I was asked on stream about my thoughts on Double Lift's statement, and while what he says is true, I think it's fine for some things to be better in pro than competitive and vice versa. Mountain Drake's the worst Drake in solo queue for sure, so I think it's fine there's trade-offs, and I don't mind that it's one of those things where it makes the game imprecise. When the enemy takes Mountain Drake, it takes a long time actually to like pause your mind and then say, all right, how fast did I think that enemy team took Baron? Okay, now make it 10%, 50% faster, but we'll hold the point. Flame's got a lot of bad guys in his lane.
On fleek, fantastic dodge there already on the stun. They're trying to burst him down before the teleport comes in. And finally, first blood at about 17 minutes does go the way of Yorick in the top lane. And speaking of which, Showmaker playing with fire. Summit goes in and slams his head down for the double kill eventually for the Yorick in the top lane.
They had no way way to kill the Maiden this time. No chance on the kill. Flame flashes late awkwardly as well. And means he's down a summoner in a 2v1 scenario. Another big indicator the SANDBOX Gaming have got DAMWON's number in the early game. Canyon's not been able to find anything outside of that early contest. He might just die.
Well, he does have Aftershock, which means he won't die just yet. But, oh, baby, that Yorick picks up the Trinity Force. They get the 2v1 for the gank, but then Showmaker trying to make something of it makes absolutely nothing of it. Gives the extra kill the way of Summit. And now he's got a bounty too.
And he was in a gold disadvantage scenario, an item disadvantage as the play happened, and still advantage to the side of the Yorick. This is good roam timing from OnFleek. All vision is gone on the top side for Flame. It feels like a Nogari situation that's with the other top laner in the lineup. The flash at the end is really bold. You see the value of true damage as Olaf's first Reckless Swing ensures that the kill is coming in, and then Showmaker just completely misplays this lane. Very much a mid laner in an off-roll scenario, just not knowing how much damage Yorick will burst if he has the Maiden aggroed onto you. No counter Maiden thrown out in that scenario either, and we even get Caster Sung's boom in stereo a couple of times there. Welcome to see, and a welcome lead for SANDBOX. The lead is bigger because the comps are mirrored, so it actually feels more like a 5,000 goldie because DAMWON don't really have any aces up their sleeves to turn this game around.
I think you're exactly right on the analysis of a mid laner going up there. He's also Silas with the Aftershock. Wasn't really able to proc it from what I could see in that one, so before he gets too many tanky items going for kind of the off-tank build with Rod of Ages that's popular nowadays, you're just going to get slammed by any Yorick that can be within melee range of you. You have to be so careful. It seemed like Showmaker didn't get the memo.
And the big issues are that even other things that can't be answered because they're champion quirks, like Ezreal's 2-item cheap power spike, is matched. This 2-item Ashe with Hurricane here. She's actually team fight ready at the same time as Ezreal, and it's before Miramana transformation when we last had the overlay. Now we're seeing the scenario we talked about. Very limited wave clear from DAMWON, and while the Baron buff isn't there to really drive it down their throats, SANDBOX have easy ranged engage. They have the gold lead at this point, and DAMWON Gaming are marching to the beat of SANDBOX's drums.
It wouldn't be the first time it happened as well. We talked about how this is a revenge match for DAMWON Gaming. They went down to them 1-2 the first time around. DAMWON trying to get revenge, but not a great start here in game number 1 as TP is here on Summit. Flame does have it too, but was with his team for now. And it looks like DAMWON just may have to give up this Mountain Drake for now.
Oh, DAMWON are in the ultimate lose-lose scenario. Yes, they have teleport on Aurelia, and she's a better teleport ganker, but she was behind, and now she actually needs a teleport to try to find something on Summit.
Well, 1-on-3. The flash comes in from Canyon just to try to force this kill, and it will happen.
Uh-oh.
But, oh, man, the arrow to the face here of the Ezreal, but they can kill him just at the end of that last tick of the Ignite. Very nicely calculated, they pick up the kill.
And that's the insult upon injury there. Even calling in his friends, they get an answering kill in the mid lane onto the Ezreal. Nice accuracy from Ghost on the Ashe. Definitely not a pick we would have thought was as comfortably in his wheelhouse. Not a pick he's really shone on in previous times, and that means that SANDBOX can easily kite back, go straight back to this Drake. Nice moments for SANDBOX. They continue to show that their early game is among the best in the LCK.
Says a lot about Ghost that he can just show up first time Ashe of the season and say, hey, by the way, I'm good on this champion as well. I'm undefeated on 2 others. As we're going to take a look at the replay. Just really desperately trying to kill the Yorick and get that bounty.
There's no better feeling as a Yorick, if you're going to die at this point, to require the Abyssal Voyage, Ribbon's ult, and also all of the time of the Aurelia, and we know that Dub comes in, tries to choose a flash spot, and of course flashes into the arrow there, so bit of a down moment from Nuclear. Had 2 options, a 50-50 that we know was stacked in the deck if it was going to be towards the turret. He chose prototypical safety of going into the turret. He goes down. Another nice moment for SANDBOX, and there's just no cost to their plays. They keep trading up even when the numbers advantage is on DAMWON's side.
It's just great to see SANDBOX back and having that flow, kind of, that LS was talking about, even in the interview about SANDBOX, how they were one of the first teams that seemed to be playing very comfortably and as a team early on. Joker going to have to flash away from this one. Maybe they can turn this around. No, Dove just going to back away, but it's great to see that SANDBOX, even after they slowly started to tip her off and look a little bit less comfortable, they're able to strike back and be back in form here up against a great team like DAMWON.
I know our suspicion was maybe they were just the masters of 9.1, 9.2 flex assassin meta that, of course, had extended all the way since Worlds, and that they would just inevitably fall off as a team, lower on experience. Even Griffin last year, of course, went 5-4 in the second round robin after 8-1 in the first round robin. But they've been able to find their groove after a lot of their strategies were target nerfed, and the basic win condition of play the early game well, which I think every team should be cribbing notes from. It's a big thing in the LPL with all the skirmishing there. I feel like SANDBOX have fit that strategy the best. I think they're better than Griffin at playing the early game, as Griffin prefers a more controlled, slow style because of their just unassailable late game team fighting. SANDBOX have been very, very aggressive, but done it in smart ways in this game and throughout the season, and they've gotten themselves a well-deserved 4,000 gold lead against a comp that, with Riven jungle drafted, we know was trying to fight with them early game.
You take a look at LeBlanc's items. She doesn't have the sweet hat just yet, but she does a ridiculous amount of damage to everybody that doesn't have magic resist. The only person who really does is the Sylas in the mid lane with the Merc Treads. I suppose the Tom Kench does as well, but that's not going to be really the LeBlanc's targets. He's looking for nuclear. He's looking for Canyon if he can't get that Aftershock proc, and you can already see just how much damage he does.
And you just notice that Showmaker has this Rod of Ages Iceborne Gauntlet. Cheaper build doesn't have 2 items yet. It's what DAMWON doesn't have, and it's general surprise of what SANDBOX does have, because SANDBOX have item builds that are turning on earlier than the cheaper builds on the side of DAMWON Gaming. So there's a lot of issues here. Map control, you notice the control ward line is a defensive triangle that spreads from their raptors to their blue buffs. So they're not actually claiming anything. They're trying to reclaim what was already theirs innately on their sides of the jungle. Which shows you that map control is almost gone, and the chances of those Abyssal Voyage flanks onto Soul members in the side lane, which is what you want from a Tahm Kench Ezreal, seems almost impossible. They're going to be answering rather than posing questions. We feel like SANDBOX can continue to try to cement a vision lead around the Baron and then chance their arm at the objective.
Certainly does feel that way. We're about 4,000 gold ahead for SANDBOX. They have an Infernal and a Mountain for just that extra damage at the Baron and at the objectives. We're going to be looking to actually just tank up the mid turret as even Dove takes a hefty amount of damage from that, maybe a little bit too much. Take a look at Flame's positioning. He's in the mid lane. He's not even down on the bottom side just yet. Maybe looking for an opportunity. As SANDBOX, we're getting frisky there, but will return to catch the wave in the bottom lane.
I want to draw your attention to Ghost build as well. He hasn't gone Infinity Edge for the late game insurance. He's gone for the mid game cementer in the Guardian Angel. What this says to me is that SANDBOX subscribe to the same thing we've been saying on this Pop and Valdez podcast. The first Baron probably decides the game. So go for the snowball item. It might be relevant now.
Trying to get on in there to Joker, but not quite able to do it. You can see the burst damage just comes out from Dove and Ghost, who are incredibly fed already. Gonna try to get on top of Beryl here. He's got a stopwatch. That's Tahm Kench, but still able to get in there. And here's Olaf from behind. Says hello to Nuclear. Just gonna smite him to death. Smote down there is the Ezreal. That is 3 kills now, going the way of SANDBOX.
And playing to their items is something I love to talk about. SANDBOX go for the mid-game items. They take the mid-game fight that was posed by DAMWON, who were just too comfortable there. As before, Nuclear even had 3 items on this Ezreal. They turn onto the Baron, and will it be the closeout Baron right now? Flame can't do much to stop it.
Oh, man. He gets 1 auto attack and just gets blown to smithereens by this LeBlanc. He's 3-0-2, 8 stacks on the Dark Seal. The 2 strongest items right back-to-back. Ludens and Rabadons, just unbelievable amounts of magic damage, and Aurelia's got no MR.
And I gotta say, SANDBOX are pressing my buttons this game. I'm getting going over here, Valdez, by their good gameplay. They've been really strong in the early game all season. We watched the replay, and remember, this is initiated by the Ashe, but it's hard committed to by DAMWON Gaming. They feel like they can walk forward, but we already know it's 3-item Ashe who's items ahead. It's actually already the Zeke's convergence here for more damage. They wanted to cement their lead here, and they just close it out. They're able to chase in for further kills. You use the past tense of smote. I'm smitten in this case by what we're seeing from SANDBOX Gaming. Definitely getting going over here. Flame thinks he can turn onto an Aurelia, but he takes 465 damage from the second part of chains. Outrageous. He says Baron, and then he says go Baron after nice.
Wow, your Korean's got a lot better. That's actually right spot on there, Papa Smithy.
Well, this Baron's going to be spot on as well. How big's the Baron buff power play going to be? Get those numbers on there, Riot Games. We don't see the numbers yet. I'm a fan of big numbers. We could see some big numbers soon.
Yeah, calculating for now. As, man, you could see the difference in the mid lane, too, in that fight. He steals the arrow, arrows Joker, the Braum, and then Joker hops away, stands beside the LeBlanc, who hops over and just one-shots a guy with Ghost. And then the fight just immediately turns in the favor of SANDBOX. Extremely one-sided is this first game, even though the first blood only came at 17 minutes. Now, Joker, in a bit of a trouble here, is going to hop away. He seems to be fine now as Summit is going 1v5 in the front, just tanking here for Ghost, who's doing the majority of the damage, takes out the Catfish as SANDBOX, the landslide, continues.
There's just no way. That lambs the slaughter. It's a huge gold lead. We know that the Baron buff power play is going to be big. It's already 4,000 gold, and there's a couple of Nexus towers to take out before this Baron is done.
This first Baron, stronger than I ever thought it was going to be. You seem to be right on the money with that call as 2 inhibitors go down, and they were considering continuing to push on, but with it being 5-on-4 and Beryl coming back soon, they're not going to bite off too much. They have tons of gold in their pockets to go home and spend and return for the next push.
What happens when your comps are mirror, and we note already that the wave clear on both sides is pretty poor. Baron buff is always going to be standing gold obliterated. Watch the replay here. Joker is too far up. It's not actually a 200 IQ play. He's too far up in this scenario when they're trying to play 2 lanes. But guess what? With a gold lead, it doesn't matter. And this has been SANDBOX Gaming the whole season. They get a huge gold lead from very good play in the early game pre-20, especially in the first 14 minutes with the plates. And then, are they perfect Griffin style? No. But they have gold leads where you can bail yourself out of bad scenarios with fat stacks. Atlas is the best at this one. He always talks about hitting people with your wallet. Well, that's what they're doing. They're hitting the enemy with their wallet, even though they're dangling their wallets in front of the enemy. Turns out, you can't steal the gold when they're this stacked.
Yeah, you dangle it, and then you smack them with it, and you have a lot of fun if you are this far ahead. I mean, it's 10,000 gold now at 30 minutes.
And there's one good news story. Canyon might not die on Jungle Rift, so it wasn't his fault.
You know. you know, it's really kind of pathetic to watch is Aurelia and Silas from behind. They just kind of sit there. That last fight was Aurelia throwing out her ult and then running away. It's not a good feel, for sure. And Nuclear, you talked about, he doesn't have the greatest stats on the Ezreal. Not necessarily his fault in this game, but may add a loss to that one as they thought they could burst down Joker, but again, it's not going to work as LeBlanc is unbelievably fed. This is just so one-sided. Can they get a kill? No, it looks like only a Guardian Angel as finally they get Joker, but only Joker as it feels like a bad joke to them. Game number 1 easily going to go in the pockets of SANDBOX Gaming.
Those wallets they're hitting DAMWON with are so big I can read the brand name from here. I think it says Gucci on those wallets, and the Gucci gang close out the first game. GG's the call. They know about that nickname. That means the SANDBOX Gaming go up 1 game, and the way they did it was just so ordered and smart and played to their draft. DWG tried to fight on SANDBOX's playing field of the early game, and SANDBOX say, sorry guys, we've been doing this longer, and we've been doing this better.
Just right from the beginning, the level 1 at blue, they get power around the bottom side. The Infernal Drake goes the way of the Olaf and SANDBOX, and then all of a sudden, 2 people die to Yorick, and it's like the game's one-sided right from there, it felt. Right from the first blood that was only at 17 minutes. It just turns into a landslide really, really quick, and SANDBOX should be very happy with that first win.
You know it's a victory when they go straight to the coaching booth, which of course is visible to the fans, and they start talking because they got nothing. They want to hide. They're feeling good about this one already. Very small things in order to adjust in this game, but just a really nice performance from SANDBOX and cements what we were suspicious of when we saw the last few SANDBOX series of, all right, they've gotten through the kinks of going away from 9.1, 9.2. They've gotten their minds around the new patch, and they're playing 9.4 League of Legends, which means they're a top 5 mainstay in our league.
Yeah, you really got to hand it to them. I mean, even the draft was quite clean. They get the LeBlanc for Dove. They get Olaf for On Fleek. Already feeling really good about that. And then the MVP of the early game turns out to be the Yorick, who smashes 2 people in the top side off the back of an Olaf gank, and felt really, really good from the side of them. Straight from pick and ban all the way into the game. We thought this was going to be a close series. Well, game 1 tells a different tale here, as in 31 minutes, lower than the average here for SANDBOX, they do pick up the win.
Not often you out-damage in every role, but that happened in this game. Huge lead in the top. We thought the Fiora might struggle as the time went on. We held our breath. We hoped to see a reason, but we couldn't see it by the end. There were other choices available, remember. Could have considered the Riven top lane. Could have been another of Flame's champion pool. We didn't see it in this game, and the Aurelia didn't impress us.
The Aurelia didn't really impress. Riven never really got a chance either. Silas from behind, kind of laughable. We're going to have to see a different kind of pick and ban with DAMWON on the blue side the next time around. And I hope it does turn into an even series here before we do go into the next one. Let's find out after this quick break.